Okay, so the temperature controller that I use is I bought it from a company called Auber Instruments. I'm pretty sure it's auberinstruments.com. Easy enough to find. I think it was around 45 bucks, and basically this controller is way smarter than me. This thing will do stuff that I can't even pronounce. I really just use it as on-off. And if I wanted to, I could use it to send out an alarm bell if there's a temperature problem, but that's about the extent of my understanding of what I can do with this thing. It's easy enough to set up. Your thermocouple, these three here are your thermocouple in, and depending upon what kind of thermocouple you use, you'll use two of them or all three. I'm using K-type thermocouples, which require these two. There are other types where you need all three connections. These two are the output, which will turn on and off the solid state relay. So I'll be using these two for the thermocouple in, and I'll be using these two to go out to turn on the solid state relay. Then on the other side, this would be my alarm output. If I wanted to use it, I probably won't. This is ground, earth ground, and this is your 120 volts in. The thing is pretty versatile. I don't know if you can read this, but it indicates that you can power this thing with AC or DC anywhere from 85 volts to 260 volts. So you can put anything in here and this thing will run. As a United States citizen, since I'm running it off of the wall power, I'll be using 120 volts AC. Because I'm not the best carpenter, when I went to make the hole for this, and this happened with the other temperature control, with the other freezer as well, I ended up, because the hole wasn't very pretty, I ended up making a little adapter plate for it that just kind of slides over, put it into place, and then you screw this into the, whoops, where is it? There it is. You screw this into the face of the freezer, and that holds it in there pretty good. And it's just deep enough that these screws just stick out the back. So as long as I know which screws I'm screwing into, it'll go together pretty quickly. So that's the controller. Oh, and it comes with perfectly fine instructions for how to set it and how to set the temperature and how to, turn on and off the various features. Remember, this thing is really sophisticated. You can do an awful lot with it. I am just using it for, it's like buying a Ferrari and only using it in first gear. That's probably a pretty good analogy for what this thing can do. So if you're more knowledgeable on PID controls, then if you get one of these things, you can do some pretty fancy stuff with it. Okay, getting the CO2 line set up. We've got some CO2 line from Micromatic, 9/16 OD and 5/16 ID. We have a swivel nut, 5/16 barb to 1/4 inch flare fitting. And we have a 14.5 millimeter Oetiker clamp, which is a stepless hose clamp. You can see that the circle goes all the way around, so it's there's no gap in the connection. So the way that I set these up is I actually have a little, where is it? I have a little screwdriver handle, Allen wrench, and I took one of the barbs, one of the 5/16 barbs to, geez, I'm having trouble centering this. There you go. Took one of the 5/16 barbs and just slid it over the Allen wrench, and what that allows is that I can push, and when I push, I'm only pushing against the barb. I'm not pushing against the nut, and you'll see why that's important in a moment. So, I'll get the Oetiker clamp in place. I only push it a little ways in, and then push down. Let's see. So now, remember, I'm only pushing on the barb itself. Just kind of work it in. It's really not that difficult. It's awkward for me to be watching, making sure that I'm centered. Okay, so you see that I only put it in a little ways. Well, I put it in far enough so that the nut will swivel, hence swivel nut. Clamping down on the Oetiker clamp, I actually don't have the proper tool to do this. What I do have is, here we go, a set of Greenlee cable cutters that work just fine. Not ideal, but it gets the job done. So you just squeeze it. Try to squeeze it from both sides. And that just about does it. So now we have a good solid connection. You can see it's pinched and the nut still swivels. This is going to look really silly on the video, but anyways, I'm not going to bother showing you all the rest. That's one, and that's how I do it. Alright, inside we've got, of course, we've got our gas lines coming in. We've got the shanks screwed into place. We've got butterfly connectors for the lines. This is a little distribution block and the trip for the lid light. And then back here, we've got the wiring for the temperature controller. As far as the temperature controller is concerned, let's see if we can see this. Let's see if it will focus this quick, this close. That might work. Alright, the temperature controller, this braided cable comes from the thermocouple. And I wanted to specifically point something out with this. You can see you've got your two thermocouple wires here, the red and the black. And this green wire here, I soldered onto the braided cable. And then I brought the green wire into the screw terminal that goes to earth ground. This is very important. You need to carry the ground through on this braided cable, or your temperature controller is going to have some pretty wonky readings. I found that out the hard way. My last keg freezer, I couldn't figure out why it never seemed to read constant. The temperature was ramping up a few degrees, ramping down a few degrees. Finally, about literally 6 months later, somebody told me, hey, carry the ground through. So that's something that maybe you won't have to spend 6 months figuring out. Over here we have the two wires that go to the solid state relay, and of course down on the bottom we have AC coming in. And then I've just pretty much got everything fastened with zip ties and these little zip tie mounts. And the down here we've got a there it is. Down here we've got a fan, just circulating air around. Keeps the temperature a lot more uniform so that you don't have temperature striations between the bottom of the keg freezer and the top. Now eventually I'd actually kind of like to mount that to the I'd like to mount that to the lid, but the plastic on the lid is so thin that I'm a little worried that hanging even a 2-pound fan off of that lid will cause it to distort. So for now I've just got it on the bottom. You can't see it from here, but it's sitting on 1-inch offset screws. So it's just basically, I screwed some screws into these bottom mounts here and set it on a piece of cardboard so that the vibration would be quiet. Before I put the cardboard down, it was rumbling pretty noisily. And that's it. Here's your, the kegs are all connected the way kegs are connected. There's not much to that. Alright, one more look inside. I've already taken you around the outside of the collar, so we're not going to spend any time with that. I just want to show you how I buttoned up the inside of the collar. What I used is this thin silver-faced insulating material, and it has silver tape that goes with it to kind of hold it in place. And I just cut a strip of this insulating material to go all the way around the inside of the collar, and then use tape to hold it in place. Not really a lot to it. When you get if you were paying attention and looking closely, you would see that it's not the prettiest. It's kind of bulgy here where the all of the wiring is underneath here, but as long as you don't look too closely, it looks fine, and I think it looks vastly better than if the wiring was just exposed. So you just poke holes in it where you need to. You can see back here I've got my butterfly shank screws. Quick note in case anybody sees this and asks why. Note that I don't have hose clamps on my beer lines on either side. I have found that the 3/16 ID, 7/16 OD flexible beverage line, when you get it installed onto these barbs, I have found in the going on 2+ years that I've been using this kind of keg fridge, actually longer than that. Anyways, point being, I have yet to find a single instance of the beverage line separating from the barb. So, it's just one less piece of hardware that I choose to use. Your mileage may vary. I personally have never had an issue with it. So, that's kind of it. See the fan down there? For the purposes of this video, I unplugged the fan. I'm still looking at setting up some kind of a switch so that when I open the lid, the fan shuts off. That's it. That's the keg fridge. Feel free to ask any questions. Off the top of my head, nothing's jumping out at me else to say. So, thanks for watching.